My name is Joe Ayers, and I am privileged to speak to you today just as I was privileged to know Keith Hatfield. Now, in full disclosure, I'm speaking not so much as one of Keith's fellow attorneys or as someone that Keith practiced in front of, but as a personal friend. I knew Keith for about 40 years, and I'm sure some of you are saying, now, wait a second, Keith was only 50 when we lost him. And that's true, but you see, Keith and I go back to the mean streets of La Follette, where as a teenager, I met a 10-year-old Keith Hatfield. And let me assure you that even at 10, Keith made an impression on you. If you wanted to know who was leading the American League in batting average, and above and beyond that, if you wanted to know why that person wasn't going to be able to hold the batting lead down the stretch, you could call Keith and you would find out why. And if you wanted to know why unranked University X in January was going to make it to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA basketball championship, call Keith. And once you talked with Keith, you felt like you had inside information, and the truth is you probably did. Keith was a sports Google before Google was ever thought about. When I moved back to La Follette in about 1995, my friendship with Keith really took off. I think we were old enough by that time, even though we didn't really talk about it, to recognize the fact that we had quite a bit in common, and specifically, among other things, that we were both only children, and we were made up of a lot of the oddities that come with that condition. From there, we road trip to places like South Bend, Indiana, and to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and made a lot of trips up Interstate 75 to watch our Reds play baseball. We had a big time, and I could tell you stories about our adventures, and a couple of them might even be true. But as much fun as that would be, I just want to remind those of you who knew Keith and enlighten those of you who didn't about what I believe made Keith the unique and special person that he was, and what we can learn from his life. You know, Keith had a lot of things going for him. He was smart, everyone knows that. But among other things, he was a student. And you might say, well, as attorneys, we're all students. That's what we kind of are by definition, but Keith took it up a notch. And Keith was a student of life. He was a committed reader. And above and beyond that, he was a keen observer of the people and the things around him. Keith spent a portion of his career in New York and then Miami. And that's not bad for La Follette boys, I like to say. Keith did a lot of traveling across the lower 48. And the whole time, Keith was learning from those experiences and what he saw. And he didn't just file away what he learned or save what he learned for a time that he thought would be convenient or a handy circumstance. Keith was a person who truly got it. And by that, I mean he had an understanding of his fellow man that I don't think many of us have. And that's regardless of how well educated or smart or otherwise experienced we might be or might think we are. And that is what gave Keith the ability to get premier NBA and college basketball coaches to appear on his sports radio show. That's what gave him favor as a patron at several downtown Knoxville establishments. And that's why he was loved by so many people. And there's not been a day that's gone by since September 5th that I've not thought about Keith. And the local bar has lost a good member. Thank you.